This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
State of the state. Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. New York Governor Kathy Hochul takes the wraps off her fifth State of the State speech today in Albany. Affordability will be the buzzword in the governor's address, which will kick off the 2026 legislative term.
I welcome you to come. It's going to be a good show.
Hochul will hone in on the high cost of living that has priced people out of homes and made health care unaffordable.
We have been smart about setting aside money.
She'll pitch a $500 million universal child care proposal and unveil a plan to lower the cost of car insurance. Senate Minority Leader Rob Ortt likes the idea of expanded child care, but doubts New York has the workforce right now to make that a reality.
We could put $1 trillion for childcare in the budget this year, and most of my constituents who can't find childcare would still not be able to not find childcare.
New gun reforms and AI regulations will also be discussed during today's State of the State speech, which is set to begin around 1 o'clock. The U.S. Supreme Court heard oral arguments this morning on the constitutionality of state laws that ban trans athletes from girls' sports. Laws in Idaho and West Virginia are before the court. Expect a ruling sometime in June.
Why we have two sporting categories, a men's and a women's division, it is because men and women are different. We have to get back to the science, we have to get back to reality, and we have to protect young girls and protect the future of female athletes and their opportunities and rights.
Former NCAA Division I swimmer and women's sports activist Caitlin Wheeler.
West Virginia and Idaho passed laws saying girls' sports are for girls, and now the Supreme Court has to decide whether those protections are allowed to stand. They will be voting on whether women deserve to have equal rights and opportunities and safety and privacy in our sports and in our spaces. It's crazy to me that these things are even up for debate.
Wheeler took part in a massive rally this morning in support of protecting girls' sports on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court. President Trump announcing new tariffs on any country that does business with Iran. That order comes as the tyrannical regime continues to crack down on anti-government protesters. Former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman.
The Iranian regime is under more threat right now than they ever have been before. Iran knows that their economy is in free fall. They're suffering from a shortage of water. All of those things have fueled these protests.
Iranian civilians have been clamoring for better wages in Iran, a far-right theocracy governed by Sharia law. More than 600 protesters have been killed. Thousands have been arrested since the uprising began in late December. Minnesota Democrats are suing the Trump administration over the deployment of federal troops to Minneapolis. This as ICE agents were swarmed yesterday by more demonstrators. It got so intense that the agents had to deploy tear gas and pepper spray.
We are being attacked by the government, and there's no one here to help us.
The confrontation started when an ICE agent rear-ended an automobile driven by a Latino man. That man, Christian Molina, a father of four, telling NBC News he is a U.S. citizen.
Luckily, they didn't hurt me or they didn't shoot at me, but what if they did?
Yesterday's violence comes on the heels of that fatal ICE-involved shooting last week of a protester in her car. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey.
What we are seeing right now is not normal immigration enforcement. We are not asking ICE not to do ICE things. We are asking this federal government to stop the unconstitutional conduct that is invading our streets each and every day.
Former Border Patrol agent Amon Blair says Minnesota officials are muddying the waters when it comes to immigration enforcement.
What a citizen is versus what a legal resident is and what an illegal alien is. And so they want to muddy those waters. That's why they're saying that this is an attack on us. They have completely destroyed that line and separation. Their rhetoric is an attack, a complete attack on all of us.
3,000 federal troops have descended on the Twin Cities to carry out the president's immigration orders. Meantime, federal agents also are continuing to investigate alleged fraud in Minnesota. Far-left Congresswoman Ilhan Omar says the probe is spreading confusion and chaos. But Congressman Wesley Hunt says it is a valid investigation.
The idea that we are discovering fraud at the federal level, the fact that Tim Walz is going to resign and not seek re-election, the fact that Ilhan Omar makes about $174,000 a year, but somehow miraculously she is worth $30 million allegedly, which should be investigated, is a problem.
The Trump administration suspended USDA funding to Minnesota as the investigation into child care programs continues. Well, it's been almost a decade since the Pittsburgh Steelers have won a playoff game. That streak continued last night as the AFC North champs were beaten badly at home by the Houston Texans. Final score 30-6. Steelers coach Mike Tomlin.
Certainly a disappointing end to our season, but you certainly got to give Houston a lot of credit, in particular their defensive unit. I thought they ruled the day.
Sure did. The Houston Texans haven't lost a game in over 2 months now. They head to New England on Sunday to take on the Patriots. In the AFC's Final Four, Buffalo and Denver will play Saturday at 4:30. Still to come on the Noon Report for a Tuesday. Dads defending daughters, snap scam in Steuben County, and desktop cleanup day.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. Some big changes are ahead in our weather as we progress through the work week. Forecast details are up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. In the meantime, let's check the stories making news where you live, all across New York and Pennsylvania. We'll begin in Wayland, New York, where corporate restructuring will force the Gunlock factory to cease operations next year. That furniture maker has been a mainstay in Wayland for almost 125 years. Over 130 workers are expected to lose their jobs by 2027. Gunlock was founded in Wayland way back in 1902. A local lawmaker is taking a stand to protect girls' sports.
96% of female CEOs participated in athletics competitively across our country. So we know that athletics plays a huge part in leadership, in development, and we want our daughters to be able to have that same opportunity.
Northern Tier Representative Clint Owlett is spearheading the Dads Defending Daughters movement.
We're asking people to go to defendingdaughters.com, sign the promise. There's 7 bullet points right there, and we're stating what we believe. We want people to know what we're standing for. We're going on the offense here, and we're saying, this is what we want for our daughters.
Owlett says even if your daughter's not involved in sports, this is still a fight worth fighting.
When we allow boys to play on the girls' team, then what ends up happening is they end up in the girls' locker room, and that's a problem. Why are our daughters being sent to the Porta-John to change just because we want to allow a boy to play on the girls' team?
The Pennsylvania politician says polls show just 20% of voters think it's okay for boys to compete against girls.
Since 2020, in our state alone, girls have lost medals and placements in 66 separate instances in swimming, fencing, track. And so we know it's happening across the Commonwealth.
That's Pennsylvania Representative Clint Owlett. Again, that petition to protect girls' sports can be found online at defendingdaughters.com. The New York Blood Centers declared an emergency after seeing a significant drop in blood donations. The center says donations have dropped nearly 40% below what is necessary to meet hospital demand. The American Red Cross says it is close to a shortage as well. This woman telling Spectrum News what it's like to donate blood.
If you can manage the poke, then everything else is a piece of cake. It's very comfortable. It doesn't take very long if you're just doing whole blood. It's an easy way to just do something for someone else.
All blood types are needed, but O, A negative, and B negative are in especially high demand right now. Experts say blood donations are down in the winter months due to bad weather and the flu. You can check out the Red Cross website to find a blood donation site near you. The Steuben County, New York Sheriff is warning residents today about a scam that's using cell phones and SIM cards to target SNAP recipients. recipients. It includes activation instructions that prompt victims to give away personal information that's then used for fraudulent purposes. Sheriff Jim Allard says you should never give out your personal information unless you know exactly who you are giving it to. Pennsylvania State Treasurer Stacey Garrity was the guest speaker at the Pennsylvania Press Club yesterday in Harrisburg. The Athens, PA native hopes to become the state's first ever female governor next year. She focused her firepower on Governor Shapiro's abortion record in that speech to the media on Monday.
I am pro-life, okay, but I am for exceptions. Now, the only extreme position is my opponent, who believes that you should be able to have an abortion for any reason, at any time, using your taxpayer dollars.
Garrity's won 2 statewide elections in Pennsylvania, but still remains largely an unknown. The conservative Republican emerged as the lone challenger to Governor Shapiro when State Senator Doug Mastriano announced last week that he would not be seeking the GOP nomination. Well, if your workspace needs a little tidying up, today's the day to get her done. Family Life's Brian Query.
Did you make a resolution to be more organized in 2026? Well, you're in luck, because today is National Clean Your Desk Day. It's a day for cleaning the clutter off of the top of your desk and giving your workspace a good cleaning. The ultimate goal of the day seems to be to help you get your main work surface tidy to help you in being more productive and organized. Not sure where to start? Don't leave things stationary. Move things off your desk, wipe it off, and minimize clutter putting things back. So if you're drowning in used pens and year-old paperwork, a clean desk might be just what you need to get back your productivity and become the ruler of your workspace. Brian Query, Family Life News.
All right, thank you very much, Brian. We've got sports next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, the Houston Texans are a scary team. They dominated the Steelers last night in Pittsburgh 30-6. That despite 3 turnovers by C.J. Stroud, and he was fortunate that 3 other fumbles were not turned over. But the Texans' defense, probably the best I've seen all season. They scored 2 touchdowns and held Aaron Rodgers and company to just 175 total yards. With Houston's victory, the next round of the playoffs are now set. The Texans will head to New England to tackle the Patriots, and the Bills are heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. Buffalo will play on Saturday at 4:30. Let's go to hockey. In Buffalo, the Sabres lost for just the second time in 15 games, falling to the Panthers 4-3. Jacob Bryson, Zach Benson, and Alec Tuck all scored for Buffalo. At Madison Square Garden, the Rangers jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first period on goals by Mika Zibanejad and Sam Carrick. But the Kraken scored twice in the second to even things up, and then Seattle didn't stop there. They scored 2 more in the third to win it 4-2. Tampa Bay won their 10th straight game, dominating the Flyers in Philadelphia 5-1. Also skating to victories, Detroit, Montreal, New Jersey, Edmonton, Toronto, and Dallas. On the hardwood, Tyrese Maxey poured in 33 points, and Joel Embiid added 27. And Philadelphia scored 80 points in the first half, and they cruised to a 115-102 win over Toronto. The Clippers, Kings, Mavericks, Pacers, and Jazz also won their games. That is a look at sports.
Thank you, Randy. Man, still to come on the Noon Report for Tuesday, the Supreme Court and women's sports. Big speech time for Governor Hochul. And meet the 58-year-old college freshman football player.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stone Street. This year, 2026, marks the 55th anniversary of the publishing of The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. Anyone who's in need of another resolution for this new year would do well to read or reread this biographical account of a Christian family in the Netherlands who were arrested by the Gestapo during World War II for hiding Jews in their home. Corrie and her sister Betsy were eventually taken to Ravensbrück in northern Germany, one of the most devastating concentration camps. There, the two endured horrific conditions, but also met the miraculous hand of God. Page after page of The Hiding Place shows how faith can become fearful trembling and how God can turn it all for his glory. For example, Corey and Betsy immediately noticed something terrible about Barracks 28 where they were placed. Besides the damp, decaying room with backed-up plumbing and single beds piled with several women apiece, there were fleas everywhere. At her breaking point, Corey asked her sister, Betsy, how can we live in such a place? Betsy told Corey to pick up her Bible, which had slipped miraculously past the guard's attention, and to read from 1 Thessalonians 5. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of Jesus Christ. Corey read that out loud. That's it, Corey. That's his answer, Betsy said. We can start right now for thanking God for every single thing about this barracks. So Betsy convinced an indignant Corey to thank God for the room assignment, for the Bible in her hand, for the crammed, stuffed, packed, suffocating crowds, because that meant that more women would hear the word of God in their darkest hours. And then Betsy went on serenely, thank you for the fleas. For the fleas, that was just too much. Betsy, there's no way God can make me grateful for a flea. Give thanks in all circumstances, she quoted. It doesn't say in pleasant circumstances. Fleas are a part of this place where God has put us. And so, Corey wrote, we stood between the piers and the bunks and gave thanks for the fleas. As the time passed, the guards became harsher and the work more inhumane. However, the guards never came into Barracks 28 at night. Because they were left alone, Corey and Betsy were able to pull the contraband Bible out and read and evangelize the women. The sisters later discovered just why the guards left the women alone in these quarters, because they were scared of the fleas. God's command to be grateful was not based on anything arbitrary. Thankfulness is actually part of reality. It changes things. In fact, the American Brain Foundation puts it this way, quote, when we feel grateful, neurotransmitters trigger activity in the medial prefrontal cortex, the anterior cingulate cortex, the ventral striatum, and the insula. I'm not sure I pronounced those words right. These brain regions are involved in cognitive functions like higher order thinking, decision-making, emotional awareness, and motivation. In other words, being thankful effectively rewires the brain. Studies found that this can lead to positive outcomes on cardiovascular health and for Alzheimer's patients. It increases our ability to build and keep relationships with others, and it brings about many other physical and social outcomes. Another profound story from A Hiding Place had to do with the strip searches the sisters were subject to every Friday. Corey described lining up with the women of the barracks in a cold hallway, all of whom were chilled to the bone, decrying the need to wait in line naked. And Corey wrote this, but it was one of those mornings in the corridor that yet another page in the Bible leapt into life for me. He hung on the cross. I leaned toward Betsy, ahead of me in line. Her shoulder blades stood out sharp and thin beneath her blue mottled skin. Betsy, they took his clothes too. And ahead of me, I heard a little gasp, oh, Corey, and I never thanked him. In everything, give thanks, Scripture says. That's because we have God to thank for everything. And if we forget that, we forget who we are and what life is really all about. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
Attitude of gratitude. Thank you, John. Let's take things outside. Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life forecast. It's a quiet day today on through the afternoon. Where there is sun, it'll turn cloudy. Where it is cloudy, it'll stay cloudy. Could be a rain or snow shower in far western sections. The temperature's peaking in the low 40s. For tonight, mostly cloudy, chance of a rain or snow shower, low in the 30s. Tomorrow, cloudy, couple of rain showers, high temps, low 40s, but then dramatically colder and at times blustery tomorrow night and Thursday with snow and flurries. Temperatures on Thursday ending up in the teens, with wind chills ending up near and below zero.
Oof, don't know if I like that. Thank you, Kevin. Anyway, this is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price. Appreciate you being with us today. Lots to get to. Tuesday, January 13th. President Trump's just announced new tariffs on any country that does business with Iran. It comes as the tyrannical regime continues its crackdown on anti-government protesters. Correspondent Richard Engel.
New videos are emerging from Iran showing the government's violent crackdown on protesters as thousands continue to gather to demand the overthrow of Iran's Islamic government in power since 1979.
Over 600 demonstrators have been killed. 10,000 have been arrested since the uprising started in late December. In less than an hour, New York Governor Kathy Hochul will deliver her fifth State of the State speech in Albany. Spectrum News political analyst Jack Arpey says that address will jumpstart the 2026 legislative term, which runs from January to June.
The state of the state kind of sets the agenda, and then we get the actual numbers next week when the governor delivers her budget address, and we figure out how all of this will be paid for. At that point, the legislature has time to digest that. They have time to conduct budget hearings when they kind of figure out what they're going to do in their rebuttals. And once the legislature releases their budget rebuttals in about mid-March, that's when budget negotiations really kick off. The deadline is April 1st, but as we have found out in recent years, it's entirely possible, if not likely, that it could go on longer than that. Last year, we, of course, had the latest state budget in about 15 years coming out May 9th.
One of the hallmarks of Hochul's speech today will be universal child care. She wants to make pre-K available to every family in New York. The address from Albany set to begin at 1 o'clock. Fairness in girls' sports, the focus of two landmark cases before the U.S. Supreme Court today. The justices this morning waded into the waters of transgender athlete bans. Derek Brown is the Attorney General for the state of Utah.
And it's not anti-anyone. It is pro-women. It is pro-fairness. It is pro-safety.
Brown says Democrats and Republicans don't agree on much, but on this, they do.
In spite of the many issues on which they disagree, I found that this is one issue on which they agree, the issue of ensuring fairness and a level playing field for our girls when it comes to sports.
State laws that save women's sports for women in West Virginia and Idaho are before the High Court today. The decision on these cases could impact similar bans in about half the states that make up these United States, and we can expect a ruling probably in June. Minnesota state officials are suing the Trump administration over the deployment of federal troops to Minneapolis. State Attorney General Keith Ellison.
The deployment of thousands of armed mass DHS agents to Minnesota has done our state serious harm. This is, in essence, a federal invasion of the Twin Cities and Minnesota, and it must stop.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says no, it will not stop.
We are surging resources to Minneapolis, and the Trump administration is going to deliver on President Trump's mandate to remove violent illegal aliens from our communities.
There were more protests Monday in the Twin Cities, just days after a deadly ICE-involved shooting. Police fired rubber bullets and tear gas into a raucous crowd just blocks away from that fatal encounter. State officials allege the influx of federal agents has harmed Minnesota's sovereignty and policing powers. DHS officials are accusing Minnesota officials of prioritizing politics over public safety. They say some of the illegal immigrants rounded up have lengthy criminal records. Mattel's released its first ever autistic Barbie doll.
Mattel is launching a Barbie doll designed to represent people with autism spectrum disorder. It's got flexible joints so it can engage in repetitive body movements. It also comes with noise-canceling headphones and a tablet with alternative communication apps. The doll was created in partnership with the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network and is on sale now at Target and the Mattel shop. It will be available at Walmart stores in March. I'm Wendy Swanson.
Thank you very much, Wendy. You're listening to the Noon Report, a Tuesday edition on Family Life.
A Pennsylvania college football freshman at 58 years old. Welcome back to another edition of Hometown Heroes on Family Life. I'm Mark Webster, and this week's guest is Tom Sillo, who made news around the nation and beyond during his recently completed freshman season playing football for D3 Lycoming College in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Tom, there are thousands of college football players around the country, but as far as we know, you're the only 58-year-old college football player. I was surprised to learn you're not even the oldest guy to ever do this. There's been some guys in the 60s, but you're probably the oldest to ever do it in the trenches as a defensive lineman. All the more impressive.
I'm going to tell you what, it was challenging. I'm not going to lie about that. When I met with the coach, initially, he said, "What position are you thinking?" I said, I would love to play tight end. He said, "Well, I already got 3 tight ends on the roster." So I said, "Well, can we try defensive end?" Well, then once practices got going, he moved me into nose tackle, and it was tough.
How did you hold up?
Okay, I'll say. At 220 pounds, not the ideal size for that position. I took my lumps. In football terms, I got pancaked more than once, too.
Oh, my. How did your coach treat this here? I mean, I believe you're even older than the coach, which is pretty unusual.
I am 4 years older. He was great. He never promised me anything special, no guarantees on playing time. He just said, show up, go to work, and we'll just see how it goes. But I'll tell you, Mark, once a season strings along, guys get worn out and beat up anyway, even the young guys.
Right.
And so it was tough for me, and it was hard finding the day-to-day energy, once you started throwing in studies and tests and reading and meetings and lifting sessions and everything all-inclusive. It was tough for me.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that too, because not only are you out there playing D3 football, but you're going back to the classroom at 58, and that's not easy.
I had concerns coming into this physically. I had concerns financially, big time, and I had concerns academically. And I think maybe the academic side stressed me out more than any of it. I set a couple goals. One was I was determined to not miss any class time. No matter what happened, get in the classroom. And number two was to make the dean's list. For me, that was a challenge because even in high school, I wasn't the most scholarly type. So I knew this was going to take a lot of work on my end. I didn't quite fully live up to that. Out of my all 4 classes, I missed every class once, but that was due to my invite on the Today Show. So I had to drive to New York City. So nearly a perfect attendance, but I did do the dean's list. I ended up with a 3.75 GPA.
Did you expect all of this attention, Today Show appearances? And I know you got at least one endorsement out of this. It's not the average deal for a D3 football player.
Never expected this, honestly. Well beyond what I could have even envisioned. The deal with Aspercream was history making. It's been great, and I actually got my own trading card as well. But honestly, Mark, the best part about all this is just the number of people worldwide, literally worldwide, that have reached out to me and just said what an inspiration it has been for them to see this journey, and it has inspired them to make changes in their lives and attempt things that they never had the courage to do before, and that makes me happy.
And I know from reading your story that a late football dream isn't the only challenge that you've had to tackle in life. You had some earlier experiences that were kind of tough too, right?
Yeah, I grew up in a sports family. I always dreamed that, I'm going to go to college, and I thought I would play football and college basketball growing up. I got into my teens, about 15 years old, and did some things that maybe teenagers do or try, and it redirected where I thought I might go, and never went to college until now. So they were challenges, and even into my 20s and 30s. So I thought, you know what? I'm going for it. So I am a 58-year-old true freshman.
For sure. Is that life experience something you've been able to pass along to your much younger teammates? How have they handled this?
I didn't know what to expect or how I would be treated walking into this. And there was some skepticism, and I totally get it. I mean, this is incredibly uncommon. So I kind of expected it. I had a teammate ask Tom, why do you want to do this? And can you even do it? I tried to assure him that I had trained extremely hard for this, and I did. I came into it in phenomenal shape, and I said, look, as I see it, the only difference between you and I is the birth certificate. You're coming in here to compete, and I'm coming in here to compete. And as we got into this, we had to do some lifting tests, and we had to do conditioning tests, and I fared quite well in both. So I earned my teammates' respect rather quickly. As the season has gone along, I was very intentional. I wanted to impact these guys in a way that they would remember forever, and it worked out that way. Our relationship just grew and grew and grew, and there's some guys in that locker room that honestly adore me. They do, and the feeling's mutual. It's been a great life lesson for me too. It's been wonderful.
You gonna keep doing this?
I would like to, but not at nose tackle. I can tell you that right now.
Well, you said this. All the tight ends were seniors, so maybe you get a shot at that next time around.
Actually would like to compete for that position. I'm not naive enough to think that I'll be a starting player, 40 snaps a game. I just want to contribute, and I enjoy it. As I got deeper into this, I thought I might not make much of an impact on the field, but I can surely make an impact in the weight room, in the locker room, in the classroom, and off the field. And again, I was very intentional about trying to do that with the guys.
What do you hope folks watching your inspiring story unfold takeaway from it?
The takeaway for people, I hope, is, listen, what is there? Close to 8 billion people in this world, give or take?
Give or take.
And I know there are people out there that have talent, or they have an ambition or a goal to do something or try something. And I think people have this fear of failure, and you'll never know unless you try and overcome that fear and self-doubt. I had self-doubt. I just want to encourage people to don't hold yourself back. If you have a dream, go for it. If you're not good enough, then you're not good enough, but you won't know unless you give it a shot. And go write the script. Don't hold yourself back. Don't let somebody else's voice be louder than yours. Just have that conviction and go for it.
That's Tom Sillo, who inspired a lot of late bloomers by playing his first season of college football at 58 years old. Please join us again next time as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.
What a great story. Thank you, Mark. Age is just a number. Hometown Heroes comes your way every Tuesday during the Noon Report or online anytime at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and FamilyLife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. We're tracking an Arctic cold front that'll be slicing through the region tomorrow night and Thursday. It'll abruptly bring winter back to the region with falling temperatures and snow. In the meantime, it's a quiet day today on through the afternoon. Where there is sun, it'll turn cloudy. Where it is cloudy, it'll stay cloudy. It could be a rain or snow shower in far western sections, the temperatures peaking in the low 40s. For tonight, mostly cloudy, chance of a rain or snow shower, low in the 30s. Tomorrow, cloudy, couple of rain showers, high temps, low 40s, but then dramatically colder and at times blustery tomorrow night and Thursday with snow and flurries and temperatures on Thursday ending up in the teens with wind chills ending up near and below zero.
All right, well, that will be fun. Thank you very much, Kevin Williams. And finally, today at noon, sneezing. Something the average human will do about 4 times a day. 4 times a day, the average person will let out a sneeze. And correspondent Bree Tennis has some advice on how to stop that sneeze from happening, should you so desire.
Home remedies include pressing your finger into the divot of your upper lip or pressing your tongue to the roof of your mouth. You can also scare someone's sneeze away by saying apricot loudly as a sneeze is approaching. It's not really word specific. You're just trying to distract the brain to make the sneeze go away. Doctors say sneezes are actually good for us. They clear out the sinuses, and some say the louder the better. So let them rip. I'm Bree Tennis.
Yeah, let them rip. Just make sure you cover your nose and mouth when you do. The guy or gal next to you might appreciate that. And that's our world, the world we live in. Tuesday, January 13th. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.